It's getting a little chilly up here in Binghamton, but the Mets and the Yankees race for the playoffs is getting red hot. Let's go.
Ole Miss defeats Alabama for a second consecutive year. Are they finally college football playoff contenders?
And the Jets totally annihilate Andrew Luck and the Colts. Are they destined for the Super Bowl? Find out tonight on BSPN. Along with Jeremy Vella and Mike Bergner, I'm Brett Malamud. Welcome to BSPN, another edition. We start with the top story. The New York Jets headed into Monday Night Football. They didn't really have support on their side, but they came in, forced 4 turnovers against Andrew Luck, and now they're 2-0. What's happening with the Jets?
The Jets' defense is keying their success, and the offense has keyed off of their defense. You have Ryan Fitzpatrick, who came into the season not knowing what his role was going to be for this team. Now he's the starting quarterback with Geno Smith out for the foreseeable future. We don't know if he's going to come back. And you have big weapons in Eric Decker and, of course, Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall came from a situation in Chicago where he was sort of cast off and Jay Cutler couldn't get him the ball. Well, Ryan Fitzpatrick has been getting Brandon Marshall the ball, and Marshall looks like a top 5, maybe even top 4 wide receiver this year already. And he could be the key to the Jets making the playoffs this season.
Very, very bold, Jeremy, but I think that it all came down to their defense. Like Brett said, they forced 4 turnovers. Darrelle Revis is looking great this year. He forced 2 of those turnovers himself, got a fumble recovery and an interception on consecutive drives, which was just awesome to watch. I really think that the defense is electrified this year and is going to help them and propel them to do well in their division.
And there were a lot of doubters coming into the season with Revis. You know, he got all that money. Did he really deserve it? And I think that last night he definitely proved that he did. Now, going back to your point about Brandon Marshall, the guy is really set to take over. However, late in the game, Eric Decker missed the 4th quarter out with an injury. So how do you think they can replace him if he is out?
Well, here's what they're going to have to do. Next week they take on the Eagles. They're going to have to get back to the run with Chris Ivory. They're going to have to jam it down their throats, and they're going to have to beat the Eagles that way and possess the ball. Because the Eagles, we know what they want to do. They want to score fast. They want to take a lot of possessions. But the Jets have to keep the ball. You can get it to Marshall out in space. But, yeah, I mean, defense is going to be keying on him and trying to stop him, double-teaming, triple-teaming him. But you have to give the ball to Ivory. You have to run it. And with that Jets defense, I mean, you're going to create good field position, probably create some turnovers. Sam Bradford, we all know he made a few mistakes in that game against Dallas. So that could be another big win for the Jets. I can see them moving to 3-0.
It's interesting that we're talking about the Jets versus the Colts and how well they did, but really, you think Andrew Luck could have lost the game for them, not so much the Jets won it. He had 3 of those turnovers himself. He is also just statistically horrible against teams that aren't in his division. He's 12-0 when facing his division, and he's got a losing record. I think it's like 10-12 or 10-13 versus any other team in the NFL.
Well, to that point, who plays in that division?
That's true, exactly. So I think Andrew Luck may be having a downfall of a year. We may be realizing that he's not this top-tier quarterback that everyone thought he was coming in.
Yes, and of course, and he's going up in the first 3 weeks. He has, the Bills, and then he has the Jets, 2 rushing defenses, and that put pressure on him. And unfortunately, his offensive line just isn't getting it done, and that forced the turnovers. But also going back to the Jets, quick note for you fantasy players: Devin Smith, the wide receiver out of Ohio State, he's potentially going to be in there next week as that Michael Floyd long ball threat. Do you think that he can make an impact if Decker's not there?
Yeah, hopefully he's healthy. Hopefully he can play week 3. He could be a threat. I don't really know how many reps he's had with Ryan Fitzpatrick in that offense yet. But, I mean, you bring him in maybe as a 3rd receiver. You still have Chris Owusu, who's their 2nd-string receiver now. So, I mean, Devin Smith, yeah, maybe you throw the ball deep to him, but I'm not really sure how much he's going to contribute early on. When we talk about Andrew Luck, moving to the guy that he replaced, Peyton Manning, the Denver Broncos are 2-0 as well. And it's not all Peyton Manning. He's been struggling. But that defense, man, the Denver Broncos defense looks legit. Now, we all thought this was going to happen last season when they brought in DeMarcus Ware. They had Von Miller coming back from injury. They brought in a couple guys in the secondary, Roger Scromarty and T.J. Ward. But now it's really clicking for Denver, and they got a big win against Kansas City late in that game.
Oh, definitely. I do think that Peyton Manning is looking a little weak this year. His throws don't have that zip to it. That could be coming with age. But luckily, they are getting so many chances because of their great defense, which I think you're right. Just took a year of playing together to get it really meshing well.
Yeah, and of course, from a fantasy perspective, you take out Demaryius Thomas. He's been basically irrelevant for those people that took him in the first round. But Emmanuel Sanders has come alive because defenses have doubled Thomas, freeing up Sanders. That's had a bit of success there. So almost an easy out for Peyton. But definitely good to see. Now we talk about the Mannings. You go to the other Manning. He's 0-2. Eli. 2 games that he should have had that he kind of let go at the end. Bad decision making. Could we talk about that?
Yeah, 2 fourth-quarter leads for the Giants that they blew against good teams. Dallas, I mean, we knew that game was going to be close. Against Atlanta, we knew that game was going to be close. But Atlanta, I mean, they just washed them in that fourth quarter. The Giants had no chance at the end of that game. The Dallas game, of course, came down to that last possession for Dallas, and they scored the touchdown to Jason Witten. I don't know how concerned you have to be with the Giants. I mean, yeah, there's concern. But with Tony Romo going out for Dallas, with Des Bryant going out for Dallas, with the Washington Redskins and their struggles, with Philadelphia and their struggles, the Giants could win this division. As poor as they've been playing so far, they could still hold on and win. They need to win some divisional games. They need to beat Washington on Thursday night. That's going to be a huge game. And then they have to hope that they can get Dallas with Romo out. You can't afford to lose that. And then you have to go to Philly and win. But the Giants, they're going to have a chance to win this division.
Mm-hmm. And I think you said it right. That's the key. They do have to win and earn the win, keep the win, because they have the lead with all but 3 minutes left, and then they lose it. Their defense falls apart. They find holes. And that's not a championship winning defense that you're used to seeing out of the New York Giants. That's how they win when they win. Their defense holds it out for them. But something else we can take out of that game is Julio Jones is back this year. 2 games over 130 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns in those games. I think he's going to be a top receiver in this league this year.
Yeah, he's definitely getting it done. You take a look around that division. You have Drew Brees. Maybe he's hurt now. Mm-hmm. I think that is definitely a positive for the Falcons. They could definitely take advantage of that. What do you see in that division?
Yeah, Atlanta is going to win the NFC South because Carolina, with Cam Newton, he can't carry the whole team all season. Tampa Bay and New Orleans, they're both going to struggle. Jameis Winston in his first year for Tampa. So yeah, Atlanta's going to win that division. You bring in new head coach Dan Quinn. Brought him over. He was the defensive coordinator from the Seahawks, and he brought a fire to that defense. And Atlanta, we all know what they can do on offense, but when you bring in a defense that's hitting hard and is playing like they want to win, this reminds me of that Atlanta team that went 13-3 a couple years ago, was the #1 seed in the NFC, and this looks like a team that could go really far in the playoffs, especially if they have some home games in that dome. Matt Ryan knows how to win at home.
Yeah, and they arguably had that worst defense last year, and now Dan Quinn comes in. They have one of the best defenses.
They're back, yep.
So, yeah, it's crazy how that works, right?
If we're talking about an ex-Seattle defensive coordinator, talk about Seattle's defense this year, they just don't seem to have it. Losing in the first game to the Rams, kind of upsetting and surprising. Threw a lot of doubt into their whole season from the start. What do you guys think? Jimmy Graham over there not performing well?
Yeah, I mean, you bring in Graham in the offseason, you say, wow, this offense is going to be a lot better. Well, the offense hasn't really been there, and the defense hasn't really been there. In that game against the Rams, you knew the Rams were coming for them. The Rams, they know how to beat Seattle. They're a big divisional rival, and they came out wanting to win. The Packers in Green Bay, probably a game that the Packers should have won, even though these teams, they really don't like each other, and it was sort of a semi-rivalry that they've created in the last few years. But Green Bay should have won that game, and they did. Now Seattle, again, I don't really know if there's much cause for concern, but you have to get Cam Chancellor back. You have to shore up that contract situation because you need him in that secondary. And you just need everyone to sort of say, all right, they got to bounce back because it's possible they're still reeling from that Super Bowl loss. That's a tough thing to do. Go all the way to the Super Bowl, lose at the 1 yard line, throw a pick, and now to come back and have to go at it again another full season. So we'll see if Russell Wilson has it. He really needs to show that he's the quarterback of this team, lead this team to some wins.
Yeah, he's done great as a young quarterback. And we can look at a few other young quarterbacks who might want to take an example from him. Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota getting their first 2 starts in the NFL. How do you guys think they've done, and who's done better?
Well, I think they kind of flip-flopped a little bit on their roles. The first week, Mariota was really the top guy in the league almost in terms of fantasy football points, and Winston really was not good at all. And then you come in this week, and it kind of flipped, where Winston kind of took over his game. Mariota was okay, didn't really do well in the first half, but got it together in the second half. I think that these rookies still have work to do, but it's definitely great to see. It's a good improvement.
Yeah, it's tough coming into rookie year and playing well. But we have to talk about a guy who's in his sophomore season, Johnny Manziel. We'll have to talk about Johnny football.
All right.
It looks like he's taking football seriously. He had a lot of off-field problems his last year. He wasn't really ready to play. But this season, he has come out and he can throw the long ball. And if he has someone out there to catch it, like Travis Benjamin, they're going to put up a lot of points. Their defense is a question mark, but they will put up a lot of points in Cleveland with Johnny Manziel. Now, if Josh McCown is back, he might be the starter. So that's a tough situation for them. They don't really know who their quarterback is. I would say roll with Johnny Manziel, but that's sort of being a fan, wanting to see if he can actually win some more games and they can play well in that AFC North division. But you really don't know what you're going to get. But he does look like he wants to play and wants to win and is competing.
Well, I think he's finally matured.
Yeah, well, I think he's finally grown up. He's gone from that Johnny football, Money Manziel. He's now basically Jonathan football as opposed to Johnny football, if you want to go that way. The kid has grown up, and we watched it. He had to get his life together in rehab over the off season, and he got his life together. And now he's moving forward from that, and you can see his football game is progressing from that.
Yeah. Now moving back to the NFC East, the AFC East. We talked about the Jets. Let's talk about the Patriots, man. They went into Buffalo. They won a huge game. It was 40-32. Buffalo came back a little bit late, but the Patriots looked like they had control of that game. Tom Brady is on fire, over 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, Gronk, can anybody stop him? I don't think even King Kong can stop him, as Rex Ryan said. That's the only guy who can stop him, but we'll see. Gronk, he's on fire. That team is on fire. They can run the ball. They can pass it deep. The Patriots, who's going to beat them?
I don't know, but Tom Brady definitely is a man scorned on a mission. I mean, he's coming back. He's got these 4 games that he wasn't expecting to have coming into this season, and he's going to do the most that he can with them, and he has been. They're 2-0, but what else do you really expect? And like you said, Gronk is unmatchable in his position. There's no one on defense you can put up against him. He's 6'5", 260 or something. He's just a beast of a man. But I don't think right now that there's a team that's clear-cut could beat the Patriots on their best day.
Yeah, and I mean, Rex Ryan didn't lie when he said he would put 3 guys sometimes on Gronk, and he did, and Gronk still got by. He scored that touchdown with 2 guys on him and 1 guy coming in, and I think that they're right now the team to beat completely. You look around the board, they have Edelman, Amendola is even taking over. Where did Danny Amendola come from? Showing signs of when he was back in St. Louis. But this team is really, really good. And Dion Lewis, their running back, came out of nowhere. It always seems that a Patriot running back is coming out of nowhere.
Yep.
Well, they just create the offense for their running backs because they're always looking for the throw. They're scared of the throw, Gronk, the threat. But Dion Lewis has fumbled twice in 2 games. And Bill Belichick usually doesn't keep around running backs that fumble. He doesn't like that. But luckily, the Patriots have been able to recover.
Yeah, and you look at their defense even. Their defense has taken over. That first game, we weren't really so sure, but they came alive last week. And now they head into Jacksonville. Now, this is going to be a complete blowout. I can't even... What's the spread going to be? What's your guess?
Well, I think the spread is at around 13.5, maybe 14, so a 2-touchdown spread. But yeah, the Patriots should win by 20, 25.
I don't think they cover that spread.
Wow.
Bold. I don't think they cover that spread.
Bold prediction from our burger. All right, let's move over to college football.
Yeah, college football is a sport with a lot of big spreads because you have early on these really good teams going up against not so good teams. But a big matchup early on this season, Alabama taking on Ole Miss. This game was in Alabama. Ole Miss defeated them last year. Alabama still made it all the way to the college football playoff last season. But Ole Miss, this is a team that was coming out with a vengeance. They wanted to win this game, and they moved up big in the rankings, going up all the way to number 3 and in a spot to make the college football playoff. The key for Ole Miss in this game was the way that they threw the ball with Chad Kelly. Alabama, their defense looked young. They couldn't stop Ole Miss. And Laquan Treadwell, he had a big game for Ole Miss as well. A lot of receiving yards, a few touchdowns. So Ole Miss, they look for real. Alabama will see if they can, even if they win out, they would have to, win that. They would have to have Ole Miss falter, get a little lucky, win that SEC championship. They could be back in the playoff, but it's tough when, even when you have that one win. But the big thing for Alabama, in my opinion, you don't really have a quarterback, because when you're starting Cooper Bateman and then you switch to Jay Coker in the middle of that game and they almost came back and won, well, now Jay Coker's like, I'm the quarterback, why didn't you start? Maybe we lost the game, and Nick Saban, people are going to second guess that decision.
Well, I was gonna say they don't have a stable quarterback right now. I feel like we see that over in Ohio State, where they still have 2 quarterbacks. Not really sure who's the main guy, and I think that'll hurt them in the long run. But I think that Ole Miss they're on the rise. We saw it coming last year, and it's continuing this year.
Yeah, when you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks.
Exactly.
And Urban Meyer, he is living dangerously. Because who is his quarterback, and why won't he tell us? Because you have Cardell Jones, who went in last year and he won you the national championship, and then you bring him in this time, he throws a couple picks against Northern Illinois. They still probably could have won that game even if they left Cardell Jones in, but they switched to JT Barrett. You don't have Braxton Miller at quarterback anymore, so it's really those 2 guys. If Barrett struggles, then you go back to Cardell Jones, who could struggle again. So who's the quarterback? You got to decide. Still number 1 in the rankings, but Ohio State looks beatable.
Yeah, they're definitely prone for a big let-up, probably against one of their bigger teams when they get more into the conference play. Maybe Michigan, just, I feel like that game they're going to be pumped for.
Could be a big rivalry game.
That could be the downfall.
Yep.
I literally know nothing about college football.
And talking about Michigan, I'll restart because
Well, no, I know, but
Yeah, okay.
I was just letting you guys know, don't expect me to say anything.
All right, cool. And talking about Michigan, Jim Harbaugh just totally turned around the culture over there. Seems that last year they just kind of gave up hope, but now they're on the rise.
Yeah, Michigan is on the rise. They're probably not going to get a huge bowl game this season, but yeah, I mean, they're going to play better than they did last season. But yeah, of course, you bring in a guy like Jim Harbaugh, he's going to change that culture, he's going to recruit, but you still want to see consistency out of this team and see how they play. But Michigan, they seem to be on the rise, probably will be very good in a few years, maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but a few years down the road, they could be, one of those top 10 teams under Jim Harbaugh.
Back. And the NL and AL pennant races are heating up. Let's take a look around the league.
Well, we start with the American League, talking about the AL East. Toronto Blue Jays leading that division, the Yankees in second. The Blue Jays look like they're going to hold on. A major turnaround for them this season. Their offense has been phenomenal. They have 820-something runs this year. The Yankees, second place, 723 runs. That's over 100 less, guys. The Toronto Blue Jays cannot be stopped on offense, and they are going to win the AL East. And I'm going to call it right now, they're going to win the American League Championship.
And right now they're doing it. They're doing it without Troy Tulowitzki, who's injured. So just unreal. It's really tough to see the Yankees win these games and still not make up any ground on it. I think that they're gonna get in as that wild card team. They'll probably play the Astros. But the Blue Jays, wow, that's magical. You take a look around the ballpark. The ballpark over there is just loud and packed every single night. Just great to see for the city of Toronto.
Yeah. Along with the AL East, it's surprising to see how bad the Red Sox did this year, right? No one was expecting this going into the season. I'm pretty sure at least one or two of us picked them to win the division earlier on in the year. And the Astros, probably the biggest surprise out of all, after 2 or 3 consecutive 100-loss seasons. They're now going to be in the wild card game. How do you guys?
Yeah, the
explain
Astros are a surprise. They seemed pretty legit all season, but they're really falling off right now because what they do is they score a lot of their runs via the home run, and they steal a lot of bases. But when you're not getting home runs like they are lately, then you're not going to score a lot of runs. They don't hit a lot of singles, doubles. They don't really move the ball around like that. So the Astros, yeah, they're relying on Dallas Keuchel to win games for them and pitch well. The rest of their pitching hasn't been incredible, even though they did bring in Scott Kazmir from the A's at the trade deadline. So Houston, they got to bounce back right now for a wild card. They'll probably hold on in that wild card, but Texas overtook them in the AL West, and Texas looks real as well. Their offense has been playing well. They do have Cole Hamels, who they brought over from the Phillies, so Texas looks really good too. But you talked about Kansas City. First place in the AL Central. After that World Series run last season, they are back. They are on fire. Can this team make it back to the World Series?
Yeah, they definitely can. They have the pitching, they have the hitting, they really have all the pieces. You know, they have their bullpen, and I think that they'll make a run. They're definitely a team to compete with.
Yeah, I think it's the same team as last year going in. They may not be as hot right now, but there's still a few weeks left, and then there's always the first series for them to start heating up.
Yeah, and you add Johnny Cueto to that team last year, and now your team from here to all the way up here, you know, their team's
Sure.
really just all around, they're good.
Yeah, so you look at the wild card race in the American League, and you have the Angels and the Twins fighting for that last playoff spot, chasing the Astros. They're both about
Three
three
games.
games back, 2.5 games back. Are any of those teams going to get in, or is it Houston and the Yankees for that wild card?
I think it's going to hold out. I don't see the Twins or the Angels kind of gaining ground on the Astros. I do think the Yankees are definitely solidified in there. They're 6 games technically ahead. So the Astros could fall off, but I just don't think there's enough games left in the season for the Angels or the Twins to do that, unless the Astros were to go on some insane losing streak.
Yeah, this thing's locked up. I think it's just going to hold out as it is. You know, the Astros rather will head to Yankee Stadium for that 1-game playoff, and we'll see who takes on the Royals.
Yep. Where it looks like the playoffs are pretty much set, not very close in the wild card race, but we could have one of those teams come back, the Giants or the Nationals, possibly come back, but it looks like it's set. The Cardinals in the National League, far and away the best team this season in the majors, 94-54 on the season. They have the lowest ERA in the majors, under 3, and this is all without Adam Wainwright. So how good are the Cardinals, and how are they doing this?
Well, they're really good because they're also right now in the best division in baseball, and they're leading by quite a few games. So they have to be above and beyond everyone else. They've just kind of mowed over everyone, but you see it from the Cardinals. They're well managed, they're well put together, they don't have a star with an ego, they are a team, they function as a team, and that's how they keep getting these wins. And it kind of sucks if you're the Cubs or the Pirates. You have this 90-win season, this 88-game winning season, and it's not enough to put you in the top in your division. You're fighting for the wild card.
Yeah, both of those teams would have won any other division in the National League,
Yeah.
and a few divisions in the American League as well.
So how do you compete with that when you're another team in the National League?
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at the team like the Pirates. The Pirates are fantastic this year. It's just not the division to be in. You know, we've seen it in the past with the AL East, where the Red Sox are way up and above, and you have the Rays and the Yankees are just chasing them. So I mean, you want to compare it to that of seasons past that we've seen it. This year has 3 really good teams in that division, and so I think that eventually the Cardinals could get beat just by somebody who knocks them off. But you look around the NL and they're definitely better than the AL this year. You look at the Mets right now. Is it just the Nationals dropping, or is it just the Mets on the rise, up 6 games?
Well, it's both, but it's definitely the Mets scoring a lot of runs, adding Yoenis Cespedes, calling up Michael Conforto, pitching the way that they are. Now, the key for the Mets is going to be how they rest Jacob deGrom, how they rest Matt Harvey, put him on a pitch count and innings count. We're going to see. He's the type of guy where you got to keep throwing him, because if he rests for a few days, you don't know if that arm's going to get tight. You got to keep pitching him. You got to keep him in game action. And you really don't want to see a situation like the Nationals had last season or a few seasons ago with Steven Strasburg, where they shut him down,
Right.
and then he just couldn't pitch in the postseason, and then he got hurt. So you want Matt Harvey to be ready to pitch come postseason time. That'll be the key for them. The Mets with that pitching can definitely win a postseason series. They could definitely beat the Dodgers if they face off against them. That would be a very exciting matchup for the Mets and a much needed playoff win for them.
Yeah, and you talk about their innings limit right now. You saw the other night, they pulled him out. He had a one-hitter against the Yankees, and then the bullpen just kind of unraveled. Do you see the bullpen as their thing that's holding them back from being that next-level team?
Their bullpen is weaker than their starting pitchers, but they have a strong bullpen, at least in names. They have Tyler Clippard, who was once a solid closer for the Nationals. So their bullpen could come together when it comes down to it. I do think that the Mets are going to probably, I'm going to say they're going to win the division series that they are in, move on to the championship, and we'll see what happens from there. But it's interesting, this is the first time since I think 2006 that we might have the possibility of a Subway Series in the World Series. And that excites me, being a New Yorker.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see whether the Yankees can get it done right now with them chasing all those teams. They'll have to win a wild card game at home, one-game playoff, and then they'll have to go on and play the Royals in the first round. That's just going to be a tough matchup.
So Brett, is it going to happen? Are we going to see a Subway Series?
I don't, but I do think that for the first time in our lifetime, we will have the Mets have a better regular season record than the Yankees.
That's pretty crazy, but I do know that if they both make it to the World Series, I will be the first person buying a ticket to see one of those games, guys.
Well, let me just tell you that those tickets are going to be thousands and
Good luck,
thousands
Michael
of dollars.
Hey, if anyone watching out there wants to sponsor me to go to one of the games, we'll report live as BSPN. We'd love to have it. We would
Tweet at
greatly
us.
appreciate it. Tweet at us, like us on Facebook,
BSPN_Bing.
comment, just send us some info, maybe tickets. We appreciate it. We love you guys for watching. Thanks for coming and listening to us this week. And I think that's all from us here. Jeremy Vela, Brett Malmood, I'm Mike Bergner. Please send us. Have a good night.